Hi everybody, it's Susan from Sunrise Quilt Studio. Today I am working on a Lone Star quilt top. This top was given to me by a friend and it was pieced by her mother. This top is partially hand pieced and partially machine pieced, and it has a potential problem though. So before I put this on the machine, I want to see if I can fix the potential problem. Like at the moment it's not a problem, but once I put it on the machine it probably will be. And that is the fact that two edges have been cut on the bias, and that is the setting triangles that go between the star points. This is a bias edge up here, and it's already kind of stretched out of shape. So what I did, now let me show you the other edge. The other two edges she did bind with some muslin that matches what she put in the quilt top. So that helps keep the stretch under control. So what I'm going to do is do the same thing to the other two edges. I measured the quilt through the center, and then I cut my 4-inch strips to that length, and then I marked them at the quarter marks. And then I marked the quilt top at the quarter marks also. So I'm going to match up these pins and pin these strips and see if I can get that bias under control, because I really don't want to have to deal with a quilt that's stretching out of, I really don't want to deal with a quilt that is stretching on the bias and won't lay flat on the quilting machine. So this is just one way to kind of avoid more problems down the line. So I'm going to start with the end and pin the right sides together. And get my pin cushion here, and then I'm going to match the pins at the quarter marks, and then I'm going to ease in where I need to ease in as I go. So I'll just keep going. This is the center here with the blue pin. And here we go. And I hope the background noise isn't too annoying. My aquarium is running and I can't shut that off without harming my fish. So I don't have anything I can do about it right now. But I could possibly get a quieter filter in the future. Now my husband's drying clothes, so now we have that noise. Well, I'll be back. Well, I got the quarter on the quilt, and I've got the quilt loaded on the machine, and now I want to play with designs on this big area here. This is a really large space. I'll get my yardstick out. This is 21 and about 3/8 of an inch, so this is a pretty big square. So putting something in here like a feather wreath, just a single feather wreath, is not going to be feasible. It's just not going to be large enough. And if I did make a great big huge feather, the feather wreath, the feathers would be just huge, and I really didn't want to deal with that. So I pulled out some of my filigree designs that I made back around 2004, something like that. This one is called Morgana, and this is Freesia. And I took these up to my printer and I scanned them and I enlarged them, and then I played around with them on my computer a bit, you know, connecting them and turning them and trying to come up with a plan to put them in the quilt. And what I had decided was to use this one here. This is the enlarged freesia pattern, and I've got this square divided into 8 segments, so I've got 8 triangles here. And basically these pieces fit in these sections, and then I can flip them and rotate them and create a design. Now, I chose this one over the Morgana because this one will create kind of a circle in here, more of a circular space, and then I feel like I can put a feather wreath in here. So I have this drawn out on plastic. I have all my registration marks, and this is one design, here's the other. Even though this is it kind of looks like a mess right here, when you connect these pieces together and it's all one design, it looks really pretty. So I'm going to go ahead and use this one. The thing is, now I have to get this transferred on to the actual quilt. So I don't need my plastic anymore, but I'm going to need my water-soluble markers. I don't have this side stitched down. This quilt is only stitched down at the top, and it is secured at the bottom on the leader with my red snappers. But now I need to draw my registration marks on here, and I need to slide this design underneath so that I can trace it. So this will be visible underneath the fabric, so I'll be able to do that. So I'm gonna go get my well, I have my ruler here, and there's my water-soluble marker. So I'm gonna go ahead and start drawing my registration marks. And I'm gonna have to use my yardstick because this is too long from corner to corner to use any of my cutting rulers, any of my rotary cutting rulers. So this is about 30 inches from corner to corner. And this doesn't have to be real perfect, but I do want it pretty, as exact as I can get it. When I start putting the designs in, I'm going to have to kind of fiddle with it a little bit anyway. Okay, so here's my center now. And I have my 24-inch ruler, and this will help me just keep this line perpendicular so that I am not slanted one way or the other. That's what I don't want. So I'm going to just divide this into eighths, just kind of like you do a pie. Okay, so I've got that. And now this design, what I want to do is to line this edge up with the outer edge of the square. So I'm going to see if I can get this under here without it snagging on things. It's with cotton batting and paper, things don't always go smoothly. The edges, the corners snag on the batting. So I've got that under there, and I just need to get it in the right location. Now if you have a design like this, you have to kind of enlarge it or shrink it down however you need to get it to fit. This is just a tiny bit large, but not too bad. So now I can copy this on and copy this onto the fabric. And the idea is I would like this area here to connect to the next one. So I've got the next design, so I want to get that real close to that line, and the same over here. And I have a little bit of space outside this square. I don't want it right on that line because that'll just make it a little bit harder to stitch in. So I can go ahead and copy. And this will take a while to quilt because I want to stay as close to those lines as I can. And this would actually be easier if I had done this on a table, but I really didn't think I'd be able to film it as well on the table, so I thought I would try this. We'll see how it works. So when you're doing an entire quilt with this kind of work, you may need several water-soluble pens. And when I do this, especially when I was doing show quilts, I would buy half a dozen pins just to make sure I had enough. And excuse my dog barking, she has been in and out all morning. She's decided she wants to come in again. Okay, so there's the first design. Now if you get confused, like I went outside the line here, you can come back in with a Q-tip and some water and get rid of that, or you can just leave it. I don't think that's going to bother me, so I'm just going to go ahead and leave it. Now this design here needs to be the reverse. So what I need to do is to get my Sharpie and trace this design on the back so that I can see that. Okay, so I have the design copied onto the back side. So I've got it on both sides here. And I want to turn it this direction. And then line it up with my registration marks. And just get that in there the best I can. And this takes a little fiddling to get it exactly the way I want it, so I'll just keep working until I get it where I want it. That looks pretty good. And then just keep tracing. Now this is a good design if you want to do heirloom quilting and you want to do a heavy background filler to give it a trapunto type effect. And you can do this with trapunto. I've done a couple of quilts with these designs using trapunto, and it looks really nice. You could do the faux trapunto where you use 2 layers of batting instead of doing the cutaway trapunto, and that looks good too. But I really don't want to do trapunto on this quilt. I'm just wanting to do this design. Okay, so now I've got 2 of these, and then I'm just going to go around. I'm going to flip it again to this side and line this up. It's going to get a little trickier when I get over here, and I may have to release the top from my roller to get everything positioned right, but we'll see how that goes. Well, here's the completed design all drawn out, at least the filigree part. I don't have anything in the center worked out yet, but I will get some round templates out and probably put a feather wreath in there. At least that's the plan for right now. The next thing I need to do is figure out what to do in the setting triangles, which I think I'll go ahead and use the same design and just go ahead and put that in. I did loosen the quilt top. I didn't have to take it off of the roller, but I did loosen it so that I could slide my paper in and out, and that worked pretty well. So that design is all drawn in, and that's in one corner. I've got 3 more corners to go, and then I have 4 setting triangles, so I have to work on those and come up with the design for those sections. Thought I'd get a higher view of this. I'm standing on a step stool at the moment so that you can get a, I'll go up one more stair, see if you can get a better look at that. This is such a large block, it's hard to get it in the frame, but here we go. And I hope you can see that. Anyway, there I am at this point so far. Now I have to work on the setting triangles over there and put the design in there, and then the rest of the squares and the other setting triangles, and then I can start quilting. I wanted to show you an alternative way to do this. When I was working on the setting triangles at the top, I was having trouble reaching all the way underneath there to adjust the pattern, so I decided to go ahead and trace it on a piece of cardstock and cut it out. And so I traced it with a Sharpie and then cut it out with just my paper scissors, and now I can trace around it. The thing is, it makes the pattern a slightly thicker, so I cut real close to that line. I didn't cut it completely off, which I probably should have, but it's really not a whole lot, there isn't a whole lot of difference. So I'm going to go ahead and start tracing this. This is a little bit harder to do because it wants to move, because it's very flexible, so you have to keep, you need like 4 hands to do this almost. So it is doable, but just because it's a thin design, it isn't, all these lines are really thin, and so the piece is very flexible. But it works well enough that I can see the design and I can quilt it. Now I've got to adjust a little bit because this is going out into there. So I'm going to this is a kind of an advantage at kind of a point, because it can be an advantage because then you can adjust it as you need. So I'm just going to flip it over this way and do this last one here. I've been playing around with the design a little bit more, and what I found was I needed more templates, so I went and cut myself out a large circle. This is a 12-inch circle, and this is going to be my outline, my guideline for where my feathers are going to end. And I originally was going to use, this is a 7-inch circle, and decided could use a little more space here, so I used my 6-inch circle here. So I've got that, and so then I need to fill in this space here. So what I decided to do was to quilt in a heart and then bring some feathers out like this, and that will help fill in the space. So something like that. So now I've got the feather design here in that space that was kind of vacant, and then there'll be a feather wreath in here, and then I have the filigree design along the outer edge. So that is what I'm looking at so far, and then I'll just repeat this design here in the triangle, which is over here, the setting triangle. I'll just repeat I'll do a half of a feather wreath and these little feathers here, and just repeat that. So we're getting there. This is still going to take a while. I've been working for a couple of hours on this morning, and it's going to take me a couple more hours, but I think it'll be worth it.
Thanks for watching. For more quilting ideas, click on the video links. And to keep up with my newest projects, click on the subscribe button. I hope to see you again soon.